This apple you see right here, it's the reason why you're probably not losing weight. And how do I know? Because I was the person always trying to skip junk food and stay on the plan, but I was doing a sneaky but deadly habit that you and everybody that you know has probably caused them to fail when trying to go on a diet. And I like to call it microcheating. And here's the wild part. If you don't understand this concept, everything you're doing, the healthy meals, the tracking, the willpower, it might as well all just be useless. And so what is microcheating? It's not binge eating, it's not demolishing a pizza and crying on the couch later. It's way more subtle than that. Micro meaning tiny, and cheating meaning breaking consistency is when you're slightly breaking your diet structure. Not with junk food, but with tiny choices that seem harmless, like grabbing a handful of trail mix while working, or tasting your food while cooking, or even having a spoonful of peanut butter with apples before going to bed. You're not full-blown overeating at once, but you're losing structure over time. And when you go off script, even just a little, your brain starts operating on impulse instead of intention. So let me give you an example. There's two people that eat the exact same foods in a day. One does it in 3 consistent meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but the other snacks their way through it because their day is too busy. And it's the same foods and the same macros, but the experience is completely different. The snacker never feels fully satisfied. They're constantly thinking about food, the hunger is louder, and the diet just feels harder. So when life gets stressful, they fall off faster because they don't have a structure to actually lean on. The common question I hear is that, Dalton, can you snack and still lose weight? Yeah, of course. I've been able to do it. I was still able to lose about 70 pounds. But that's not the point. The point being is, does it help you stay consistent long enough to see the results you want? Because even if you're deciding to snack, you need to have structure, because without structure, you're going to lose rhythm and you're going to stop trusting yourself. And even studies back this up. People who snack often don't track. They underestimate how much they eat, especially if it's just a bite. And that's why so many guys feel stuck. You're saying no to junk, you're putting in the work, but the scale's not moving. And then you just start asking yourself, what's wrong with me? And it's not because of you, it's the loose loop that you keep putting yourself in. And that's the danger of microcheating. You lose sight of how close you actually are because you think you're on track, but you're just enough to stall off. So I'm gonna show you 3 invisible ways most people microcheat on their diet without ever even knowing it. If one even sounds familiar, your structure is probably breaking progress and momentum to lose that fat that you want to come off. And I've done all of these, so I know exactly how it feels. The first one I would say that is the most common would be mouth grazing. And you're not eating a full meal, you're just grabbing little bites while distracted. So for example, there's been many times where I've been to a party and without any hesitation, I decided to go for second or thirds. For example, just getting small bites at like a charcuterie board, barbecues, or other types of house parties. And I actually talk about this a little bit in my book, The Anti-Diet Fat Loss Plan, where you get free tips by checking the link in the description below by putting in your email. And for this, it doesn't feel like eating, so it doesn't feel like cheating. But your body doesn't register those bites as a real meal, so you're not satisfied and you just stay hungry. There's no signal of fullness, there's no mental closure, and you just keep getting low-level cravings. And the second one, I would say, is even more dangerous than the first, is what I like to call emotional licks. And this happens when stress or boredom sneaks in. You're not starving, but food just keeps showing up in your head and you're really food focused. That could be eating a lot of skinny popcorn while watching YouTube or having Halo Top ice cream while on the couch. These foods feel safe in your head, but you end up eating 300 plus calories without meaning to. And over time, even though it was intentional, you're not tracking it and you don't see the scale move, so you're just feeling guilty afterward. And so generally what people that I've seen do when I'm training them, or even myself, is that you either spiral and you decide to binge eat, or you just try to eat less later to make up for it, which only really makes things worse. And so the last one, which I think is the worst because it's actually not even a stress thing, and that is what I like to call permission calories. And this one's super sneaky because it feels justified. So you finish a workout and you suddenly think, I earned this, so you decide to have a big meal shortly after. But not only are people bad seeing how much they actually eat, but they also underestimate how many calories they actually burn. Even if you have a smartwatch, it could be off by hundreds. There was one time I decided to train with one of my buddies who were the same exact height and weight. We were going at the same intensity while going to the gym. He had an Apple Watch and it said that he burned 600 calories, but for me, it was only 200 and I had a Garmin watch. And this is why I don't have a huge trust in tech when it comes to specifically burning a lot of calories during a workout. Because even when you do, for example, when I was training for Spartan races while running 12 miles, I burned about 1,200 calories on average. But afterwards, I'd be so hungry that I nearly eat all the calories back and sometimes more. And I just wasted my entire deficit throughout the day because I felt like I deserved it and I kept doing it anyway. But what's the pattern of these 3 habits? There's no structure. You're always kind of full, kind of hungry, kind of in control, and you just keep floating in that gray area where your diet turns into guesswork. And here's something that nobody really wants to admit, is sometimes we think that we're too smart for a basic structure, but that pride is what's keeping you stuck. So the fix isn't grinding harder or finding a more optimal way, is that you need to be humble enough to say, I need a clear plan, and I'm just not good with the intentions that I have right now. Because if you don't spot these micro-cheating habits you have, you'll just keep wondering why your fat loss never sticks, even though you feel like you're doing everything right. So if structure is the answer, what does that actually look like when it comes to fat loss? Most people never get past this point, but here's what they're missing. Imagine trying to walk across a bridge, but you only have half the bricks to actually get you across there. You feel like you're on solid ground, but you just actually fall 50 feet and just kill yourself, and then you have to go back up the mountain. And that's what happens when your diet is missing key pieces. And so for me, here's the 5 bricks that I've had that help me actually move forward when it comes to losing fat. And the first part I would say is that you need to track at least something to some degree. Most people, they automatically think it's calories, and I'm okay with that. That's normally what I like to do for it personally, but you don't have to do it forever, but you just gotta do it at least in the beginning. I personally use MacroFactor to make this easier on my life, so I don't have to do all the math that messes up with it. It's just a shameless plugin. I don't even have an affiliate yet by the time of this video. I just love MacroFactor. And the second brick would be is eating consistent, satisfying meals. And guys, just ditch the mouth grazing. When you build real meals that actually satisfy you, they don't have to be super sexy, but they are things that you can look forward to without killing yourself in the process. So your brain just stops hunting for a snack 2 hours later because you're actually satiated from your current meals, whether that's 3 meals, 4 meals, 5 meals, as long as it's consistent. Sets to the third brick, which is sticking to set eating times. And the main reason why you overeat after work or mouth grazing or having those emotional licks is because you have zero structure. One day you eat at 7 a.m. and the next day you skip breakfast and you decide to mouth graze all day. Instead, try anchoring your meals, even your snacks, to specific times. Since I work a 9 to 5, it's easier to do that because you're forced to take certain times on off rather than just having a whole day to do whatever you want. Even if you're your own boss or a freelancer, just be proactive, not reactive, because as I mentioned before, structure gives you that rhythm and rhythm gives you that confidence. And brick 4 would be, tying into all these other ones, is balancing your macros. So normally what I've seen that's helped me is that when I balance my meals with protein, fats, and carbs, my hunger doesn't really occur at all and I don't really have that many cravings. And of course you can have bonus points if you have whole foods, but it's not really 100% required. It's just that the closer you are, the more it helps in the long run. And in terms of brick 5, what you need to cut out is something I like to call trigger foods, and we all have them. That could be things like trail mix, cereal, nut butters. They just don't get tracked and you're basically inhaling them like a vacuum when you used to go trick-or-treating as a kid. It makes you lose control and they just don't belong in your plan, and that's not restriction, that's protection. And when you finally stop micro-cheating and start eating with structure, everything then begins to click. You stop second guessing, you stop starting over, and you lose fat without guilt, the guesswork, or that hard grind every other fitness gym bro likes to tell you. And for the first time, you can actually believe in something that you want to stick with in the first place because you're looking forward to it. And if that hits home, I made something to take this even deeper, which is called the Anti-Diet Cheat Sheet. It's totally free, which will basically tell you why sometimes, depending on how you track and normally trying to clean eat as strict as possible, backfires, how to build a fat loss strategy that actually feels good other than just these bricks, because there's way more, and how to end the all or nothing eating cycle for good. So just click the link in the description below, and because when food finally stops running the show, you actually get your life back, because who would have thought? And if this helps you realize how micro-cheating was holding you back, just wait till you see what else might be silently ruining your progress. Because you probably heard how healthy chicken is great for fat loss, but it could be the reason why it's actually causing you to have more cravings and even gain weight. So in this next video, I'll show you exactly how that's possible and what you can do instead so you can finally stay full, satisfied, and in control. So just click on this video. I'll see you there in a second.